Now we're turned to more international matters. Today, we'll be looking at issues being raised at a conference in the Pacific Rim state in relation to U.S.-China trade relations. The Washington Trade Conference, which took place earlier this week, is organized by the Washington Council on International Trade, or WCIT, and brings together several hundred of Washington State's business, official, and community leaders to share ideas about international trade policy. The website Context China reports that issues relating to trade between the state and China dominated discussions at the conference, giving insight from both sides of the Pacific into the challenges and opportunities for both parties. China is Washington State's largest export market, with exports totaling over $14 billion in 2012. Eric Scheinfeld, president of the WCIT, told the conference that trade with China accounted for over 40% of jobs in the state. The conference was addressed by David Dollar, a former emissary to China for the U.S. Treasury Department. He said that there was both good news and bad news in relation to trade with China. On the upside, although growth is slowing, the Chinese market is still huge. Some of the reforms recently announced at the third plenum are aimed at increasing wages, household income, and encouraging household consumption as a driver of growth, all of which potentially improves opportunities for trade. That said, Dollar also shares the view of many analysts that despite the fact that some sectors of the Chinese economy are now being open to foreign trade and investment, a relatively large number of areas of the economy are closed or protected. At the conference, a panel including representatives of both U.S. and Chinese industry discussed several of the key issues affecting China trade policy. The topic of market access has led to an increasing number of disagreements between Washington and Beijing in recent years. This issue was raised by Mark Powers, vice president of the Northwest Horticultural Council, which represents regional fruit growers. Powers noted that U.S. apple growers are unable to export their products to the U.S. due to a restriction relating to plant health. He also said that his industry faced a 10% tariff just to enter the Chinese market and a 13% value-added tax, which were not paid by the Chinese producers. Also on the agenda was the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, or TPP, the free trade agreement which the U.S. is negotiating with Australia, Canada, Japan, and 8 other countries in the Pacific region. China is currently not directly involved in the negotiations, but has recently been making more positive noises about the initiative. The only panelist from China, Wang Li, Senior Executive Vice President of the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, confirmed that China has changed its attitude towards the TPP and was pleased to note that the U.S. also appeared to be taking a more positive and welcoming approach. The panel discussed what could be done to make things easier for businesses on both sides of the Pacific. Wang raised the issue of the U.S. government blocking several important mergers and acquisitions. She said that although such moves by the government were said to be done to protect America's national security, she considered that such barriers to business were caused by what she called political prejudices. On another hot topic, that of the effectiveness of WTO resolutions and legislation to address trade issues, the panelists were unanimous that bilateral talks and mutual understanding were usually a preferable way to resolve such disputes. It is not clear, of course, whether national politicians in Washington and Beijing will take the same approach. This is Biz Wire on BON. Let's change our pace here for a quick look at a few stories that are buzzing through the markets right now.